this afternoon, and welcome to a Michigan fans react to their 24-13 loss at the hands of Oklahoma edition of the OHIO podcast. Do us a big favor if you don't mind and smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed. We do appreciate that very, very much. Great week this past week. Numbers way up in subscriptions. We appreciate all of you new subscribers. And maybe you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It really would help us out. And the other thing you can do is make a comment down in the comment section below. That is the other thing that really helps get these videos out to more people, much like yourself. So, Buckeye fans, after a 70-0 thumping of Grambling State, which we all knew was going to be the case, got to sit in last night and enjoy watching their most hated rival struggle, to say the least, in Norman, Oklahoma, a place that Ohio State won last time they played in under Urban Meyer. And Sherrone Moore and Bryce Underwood and the we're going back to the playoffs, maize and blue, went into Norman, and there's some issues. There's some issues. One of the things I love to do is I love to just open up Facebook and just read and react to comments. It's one of my favorite things to do. So here we go. Let's dive into it, everybody. Let's go ahead and go to what I like to call Book of the Faces and see what in the world Michigan fans are talking about these days. So this is a tweet that was reposted. Ben Bosher says, disappointed in Sherrone Moore and his staff tonight. Refused to adjust on offense. The run game and play action out of the pistol was abysmal all night. Poor timeout usage. O-line stunk. Bad all-around game. Over 2,000 comments. My goodness. Let's dive into those, shall we? This ought to be a ton of fun. Make sure that I get my screen over properly so that we can see it all, right? That'd be helpful. There, that's a little better. There we go. All right. Let's dive in and start reading these, okay? Here we go. Michael would like to see Bryce run a bit more out of the scramble. Saw a couple times he got to the line of scrimmage and scrambled and had open field in front of him for good yardage, if not more, and he decides to try to throw it on the run. It's probably by design, to be completely honest with you. Who's your backup? How confident are you in your backup? If you're not confident in your backup, you can't allow your starter to get hurt. That is the reality in NIL, transfer portal, college football era. You might have one really good quarterback, but if you don't have multiple good quarterbacks, it's going to change how you call a game. We've seen that personally here in Columbus, Ohio, with Ryan Day, not allowing players to run until it, unless it's a win in your win or done scenario in the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, you'll see CJ Stroud take off and run. So, we saw this a little bit in game number one with the Texas. Whose Arch is back up? I'll tell you, he ain't good. And so you've got to be very careful. So I would say that might be a little bit of the hesitation on Sherrone Moore's part to allow Underwood to just take off and run. Thomas, time to keep it real. Oh, this ought to be good. A young team with a freshman QB. This game reminded me very much of Marcus Mariota as a freshman when Oregon visited LSU back when LSU was a powerhouse and they kicked Oregon around that day. Today was this young team's real first test. I thought they did well considering that Michigan historically rarely wins on the road against top programs. Okay. Thought you guys had the most winningest program of all time. Yes, there is plenty of room for growth and growing they will do, as true Maize and Blue fan. Our fan base needs to grow too. No program can win every game. We need to get behind our team and rally them up. That's what we need to do as our Wolverines prepare to respond to this loss. I have complete faith in Coach Moore I have complete faith in the team. All I can say is, yeah, I'm not going to repeat that. So, interesting comments there, to say the least. This is exactly who you were going to be regardless. I don't, I mean, 9-3, 8-4, right? Isn't that who you were going to be all along? 10-2 at the very best. 10-2 is still a possibility, by the way. You have one of the easier Big Ten schedules in the conference. Yes, you were a young team with a true freshman at quarterback. We said it months ago. We'll say it again. True freshman quarterbacks are unicorns in college football if they can lead their team to a playoff. Those are unicorns. They don't exist. It's so rare, right? Um, there was going to be times this season Underwood was going to look fantastic. There's going to be times this season he's going to look like a freshman. Yesterday, last night was one of those times. He looked like a freshman because he is. Having unfair expectations placed on him by a fan base that is completely delusional is unfair to him. But then again, he is taking, what is it, 10 to 12 million dollars. So feel free to put those type of expectations on somebody. If you're going to pay him, you expect a certain level of productivity, right? So I'm not going to fault those fans who are going to start to get on him and feel like he's underachieving or, not performing. He's being undervalued, if you will, or overvalued, however you want to look at it. So yeah, I'm not gonna sit there and say that that's not fair. All right. Chris says the play calling was atrocious. It was bad. Michigan feels very much like a one-trick pony right now, and that one trick that they have is nowhere near as good as it was in the previous seasons, and that is running the football behind a award-winning offensive line. That doesn't look like that. And Jerry, the one Michigan fan who I actually respect from the Ravenous Wolverine, this was his big concern going into this game, and he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. The offensive line is not ready for the big time. I think that is obvious to see. Aaron James says you cannot win when they stack the box and you refuse to pass the ball vertically, not in the flats. Aaron, I'm going to ask you a question. How confident are you that you can pass the ball down the field? Is there a reason why this coaching staff refuses to do so? Has it been that bad in practice? Has it been to the point where this coaching staff goes, yeah, we can't do that. We're going to embarrass ourselves. And then they run the risk of possibly destroying the confidence that Underwood has in doing so. Is he not ready to throw the football down the field? Are your wide receivers not capable of competing down the field? Those are the questions maybe you need to have your bought and paid for media start asking at press conferences instead of the softball layups that they're feeding your coaching staff, thus feeding the narratives that the University of Dumb wants you all to believe, that you all continue to just slop up like a bunch of pigs. Maybe you should start asking the tough questions and holding your program accountable when they don't achieve your expectations. Just saying. Moving along. Matthew Tyler, our O strategy. Run, run, first 1 to 2 yard pass attempt, punt. Didn't like the offensive game plan. Jeff, don't worry too much about Coach Moore. He'll be suspended the next 2 games. Oh yeah, that's true. Very interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Tim Guzman. Wait. I thought your freshman QB was so good he would throw TDs to himself all day, like Bugs Bunny. Yeah, that's obviously someone poking fun at the University of Dumb. Sean says, "Dang, it's kind of like they beat New Mexico and then got a big head and really and the reality set in. Maybe." Ryan says, "Bad play calling. Give me Matt Campbell." Ooh. Is this the first person who's calling for the firing of Sharon Moore in this thread? We wondered how long that would last. Eric says our play action might have fooled a toddler, but it was completely out of sync all night long. Christopher says pistol. Terrence says just a thought as a Michigan fan. Could Oklahoma just be legit? I was waiting for this one. Oklahoma's got a good quarterback. Oklahoma does not have a good team. That is a 6-6 team last year, who's probably going to be somewhere around 8-4, 9-3 at the most this year. If you guys can't see that, I don't know. Are you just not watching college football? Serious question. How do you look at that game last night and think Oklahoma? Yeah, yeah, that's an 11-1 team. That's a 12-0 team. That's a top 5 team in the country. It's not. It's not. That's a team that's going to go into the SEC and probably lose 4 games. Probably lose 4 games. All right. Jack Watts. I thought Lloyd Carr was the coach again with this play calling. Why are you throwing Lloyd under the bus, Jack? He was a good coach. James P. Houston. Nice job. TTUN guess didn't have their signal guy available. James coming out with a Connor Stallions burn. Tommy, hey, it's third down, guys. Let's run a screen pass. David says that was a James Franklin worthy head coaching job. Ooh, that's actually a really good burn. That was good. I actually enjoyed that one, David. Dieter says, how many times did Bryce Underwood turn his back on the defense to do a fake handoff to air with running back going the opposite way or going to block, then turn back around and defenders in his face and no time to read the defense? Happened over and over and over again. Here's an idea. Offset the running back so Bryce knows what side to fake the handoff and read the defense. Yeah, that's a good point, Dieter. But hey, man, this is their offense, bro. Gary, coaching needs an upgrade. All right, we're going back to the coaching here. Richard, wrong guy to take over for Harbaugh. Joey says, let him throw, talking about Underwood. Paul, where's Stallions when you need them? Go Bucks. There's always a few Buckeye fans in these threads, isn't there? Alex, if we get that sack on third and long instead of a Mateer escaping and making a 40-yard pass, I think it's a whole different conversation tonight. Yeah, but it's not, Alex, so have this one. Northrop, they kept doing the bubble screens on third and long like, what the heck, all night long. Kevin says we were outcoached and outplayed. Alex says his remarks were, well, we did play a cupcake team last week. This week we faced a real college team and got our butts whooped. I'm just saying. That's all I have for right now. Again, I'm just saying. That must have been Sharon's quote. Wow. If it was, that's bad. Grant's favorite call play of the night was the poorly designed screen pass on 3rd and 15. Five Toes says, come on, boys. It was this first real tough opponent with a true freshman. It was. Ooh, Thomas with a burn. He turned into Ryan Day. Yeah, except Ryan Day actually is 72-10 overall. What is Sharon Moore's record? That's a good question now. Let's look that up real fast. What is Sharon Moore's record? Let's see. Sharon Moore's record so far is, wow, really? He's 10-6. Jerome Moore is 10-6. That's not good. Yikes. Okay. So much for being born on third base, I guess, huh? If he was born on third base, dude, he got picked off. That's what that is. All right, let's do it. Let's read a few more. Let's see. Michael says, did he forget he was a QB this year? He has a QB this year. Does he, Michael? We don't know who Underwood is yet. He's 2 starts in. 2 starts in. New Mexico, team he was going to beat, regardless. Oklahoma, the real first good opponent he's ever faced in college. So he didn't have a year development, like Julian's saying. You all paid him the money and just expected him to be Superman. And you didn't really surround him with much talent on offense, let's be honest. Um, let's see. Clayton, thankful he got to stay after all the cheating. Thought he was the fall guy. Talking about Sharon. Don't understand that comment from Anthony. And to think Bill Belichick was available. Yeah, how'd that go for North Carolina in week 1? Jennifer says deer in headlights. Tom, yep. Why go get him if you're going to irresponsibly use him? Are they, though? That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys is I don't think you all think he is who you think he is yet. He is not Tom Brady 5-6 years into his NFL career. Okay? He's not Cam Ward. He's not Cam Newton yet. He is a 18-year-old who played in a pretty bad high school league, to be completely honest with you, who is overhyped possibly, maybe overpaid at this point, and he's going to go through some growing pains. Last night was one of those moments. It was easy to predict this happening, folks. Michael says the stat they pulled up at half was revealing. Bro wins when up at the half, but loses every time when he's down at the half. Yeah, I saw that. Sharon Moore's undefeated when leading at halftime, and he hasn't had a comeback after trailing at halftime. It seems like the formula to beating Sharon Moore is getting out to a lead and making sure you go into halftime with that lead. Statistics don't lie, right? So he's not making good adjustments, especially offensively. He's not making good adjustments. James says a picture there of a clueless coach. Clueless coach is what he called him. Jeremy says just refuse to pump the brakes. Kyle says learn ball. I think they're talking about the person's comment. Dwayne, no Connor Stallions hurts, doesn't it? Jeff, deer in the headlights. Aaron says, if over your head had a picture. Ooh. Dale says, but hey, you beat Ohio State last year. Yeah. Tom says only thing Tom wants is beating Michigan State and Ohio State this year. Just beat 2 state teams this year and I'll be happy. That's all he's wanting. Just beat Michigan and Michigan State and Ohio State and he's good. David says, what running game? Stan says he's playing not to lose. Gutless. Randy says their real nickname's the Cheetahs, not the Wolverines. Oh, David says this is now the hottest seat in the Big Ten. Really? Wow. Dwayne says, well, at least we're not Florida. That's true. Bruce says that was a terrible game plan. Smo says not sold on Chip Lindsey as a play caller. I wouldn't be either. So yeah, there you have it, guys. I think that's plenty of comments to read through. There's 2,000 of them. I mean, my goodness. To say the least, Michigan fans They were a little upset last night, rightfully so. That was a really bad game plan. But at this point, I think you have to start asking yourself, do you have enough tools in the tool belt to have any other kind of game plan offensively? And if not, you're really going to put a lot of pressure on your defense to play out in front of their skis all year long, to really hold up their end of the bargain beyond even what they did a year ago. And I think that is going to be a real issue for the Wolverines in 2025. If they were going to make the playoffs, they needed to go at least 10-2 in my opinion. Because the Big 10 has got some really good football teams. Penn State, Oregon, Illinois, Ohio State. Those are four teams that are all going to win double-digit games this year in my opinion, and probably get to the playoffs. And so Michigan was going to have to get to 10-2 to have that argument. And now you're going to have to go 9-1 in your last 10 games. And again, it's an easier Big 10 schedule than most. But with that team, with their limitations offensively, with a defense that is going to be wore out, I'm not so sure they can do that. I'm looking at a Michigan team that's probably somewhere around 8-4, 9-3 at best right now, which is what I expected from them, to be quite honest with you. And that's not me tooting my horn. It's not me bragging because I'm an Ohio State fan. That's just simply the facts right there. You're going to have to basically out talent everybody you play, because I just don't know you're going to be if you're going to be able to out scheme people with the personnel you have in place. Those are the facts. Let me share this afternoon's verse with all of you. Psalm 91:1. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. That's a good place to be. Ann Arbor, not a good place to be Sunday afternoon after that loss. 8 o'clock tonight, if you're watching this afternoon, 8 o'clock tonight, former Buckeye Mecca Don will join us for the Sunday night discussion roundtable show. It's going to be a lot of fun as we dissect Ohio State's 70-0 win over Grambling State. And we're also going to be able to talk to Mecca Don about his book that recently came out, Buckle Up, the Playbook, 5 Winning Plays for Go-Getters. Looking forward to talking to him about his book, about his time in the music industry. It's going to be a lot of fun. Don't miss it, everybody. 8 o'clock Eastern, right here on the OHIO podcast. Till next time, be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH, and Carmen Ohio with all your heart. You all know what to do. Goodbye.